I'm sure that the majority of you sitting here today are not native Floridians, and you have moved here from somewhere else, and most probably that place was up north. I myself moved here from Europe about 10 years ago, and when I did, like you, I packed up all my beloved belongings. In my case, it was 66 boxes and a container full of furniture, and I had a wonderful custom-made window treatments that I had hanging in my living room, and they were velvet and burgundy and paisley. And I proudly hung them in my living room here. About a year later, they moved from my living room to my guest room because it didn't work. It didn't seem right. 10 years later, I frankly can't tell you where they are. And in my living room today, I have hanging panels of ivory linen, and that seems to work just perfectly for me. So when you land in Fort Myers, as I'm sure most of you have at some point or another in your lifetime, do you look out of the window and realize that the colors here are so much more vibrant? The blues are more intense, the greens are brighter. And that is because of the light that we have here, and that plays a role in the way we decorate and the colors we use and the tone of colors that we use. The northern light casts a bluish tint and remains quite consistent throughout the day. However, the southern light is warm and can even be intense and glaring, and it changes throughout the day. So I always suggest to my clients, if you're going to choose a wall color, either paint or wallpaper, to always watch it from morning till night and see how the tones change throughout the day, because of the light will play with it. And although we have an abundance of natural light here in Florida, it is still very, very important to give it some really good thought to how you layer your artificial lighting in your homes. And all designers know that no matter how great your design project is, if you don't light it correctly, you have failed. It's a Western cultural viewpoint that regardless where you reside, you as an individual remain the same. And although we may feel nostalgic for a place that we've left behind, a home isn't just where you are, it is who you are. Moving in itself is a very stressful activity, as I'm sure we all know. And moving perhaps away from a busy lifestyle, surrounded by familiar things and family and friends living close by, is emotional as well and should never be underestimated. And leaving the nest that you created up north and moving to our sunny shores here in Southwest Florida can be exhilarating and exciting. And embracing our climate and the year-round activities that we enjoy here is a wonderful thing, and often it begins a new chapter for many of us baby boomers. And an interesting phenomenon that designers here have, because I've interviewed several of them when I was researching this subject, we notice that if the people that are opening up or designing their second and third home here in Florida tend to go completely different design-wise than the houses they have up north. Meaning they will bring in a lot more color that they don't have up north, and sometimes if they have something traditional up north, they'll go very contemporary down here. However, those who are moving down here permanently, and every year we see there's more and more, will need to merge the two. They'll be bringing half of their homes from up north down here, probably merging them with what they already own here, and that can pose its own set of problems. And it can create a fair share of headaches. But there are solutions. Now, we've all been bombarded with the subject of decluttering. It's almost become a dirty word. There's articles everywhere. There's even books on the bestseller lists now. And I myself have often spoken about it in my seminars, especially in the seminar I gave, which was called The Upside of Downsizing. However, decluttering is a great thing to do, and you always feel so much lighter once you've done it. But don't you notice that about a year down the road, you look around and you're like, where did all this stuff come from? Where does all this come from again? How have I gathered all this again? Well, it's a normal thing, unless you are a minimalist, which I don't think there are many of us. We have a nesting instinct. So once we've decluttered, we almost start the cycle over again. And we nest, we collect, we enjoy, and we have to start all over again. So don't beat yourself up. Do declutter, especially when you are moving. Moving is a good thing because you often have to get rid of things and then you start over again. So, and you get rid of things that you didn't necessarily like in the beginning anyway. So, but rest assured that if you have good quality furniture, that to keep it, and it will find its place down here because anything tasteful is always good. Now, the number one problem down here in Florida, storage. I'm sure all of you agree, you're all nodding. And unfortunately, I find that because you're used to your basements, and not that you always know what is in your basements, I'm sure, because the same thing sort of follows us here with the storage units. I have two storage units, and I'm not quite sure what's in them either right now. But I have noticed that builders and architects are starting to take notice of this and trying to find clever and inventive ways of creating storage in our Florida homes. And recently, I actually I visited a spec home that friends of mine had built, and I was incredibly impressed with how they had created built-ins everywhere you looked. Every single walk-in closet, normal closet, pantry had built-ins already in their home. And here is a great picture of it. And I just thought that was such a fantastic selling point for this home, not to have those wire shelvings, which we've all seen even in million-dollar homes. This home, not that it's $3 million, but it still had these wonderful shelvings, and it's worth the cost. They are expensive, but it's worth the cost. And here's another one. Now, what I really like, the one on the left, the linen closet, I've never seen that before, is the pull-out drawers and the lighting inside. I would love that myself if I could see what was actually in my linen closet without having to take the things out. I thought that was wonderful. Here's another wonderful idea for your pantry is to wallpaper the back of it. It just makes it so much nicer to look into. And I love the idea of having hardwood flooring in a walk-in closet. I just think it's much cleaner, and it helps you slide things around much easier. Here's another great use of space. It's almost identical. The one on the right isn't actually from that spec home that I was talking to you about. I love the idea that you could either use a laundry room or turn it into a desk area. And always think, when you're thinking storage or additional storage, vertically, not just horizontally, but go vertical. I love the idea of having natural light in the laundry room. Let's talk about colors in decor in Florida. Designers often see clients that when they move here think that they have to adopt that Florida look. And if you never loved monkeys up north, you're not going to love them down here either, trust me. I didn't. And there's no reason to adopt that look just because you're here. However, you do need to adapt your colors from up north to here. So sometimes down here it can be too much. And if you love color, by all means, run with it. However, you don't need to think that you need to jump on that bandwagon. And for a long time, people who moved down here believed that you had to decorate around a theme, that Florida theme. And although I have a lady here in green and pink, there is a new green and pink, and you're actually wearing it, which is very good. Here you go. The new pink and green. It is more of a fuchsia, a hot pink, a schiaparelli pink, if you wish. And the green is so much brighter and more modern. So that's a good way to go. Now, Diane Freeland, some of you may remember, a wonderful style icon and editor of Harper's Bazaar, once said that pink was the navy blue of India. Well, she could have very well said that of Southwest Florida as well. And even though you may not like pink, it is true that there is a shade of pink for everyone. So let's look at how to adapt certain colors. If you love green, the picture on the left is of what could have been up north, a wonderful green up north. However, if you brought that down here, it would seem a bit sad. You can more of a Kelly green would be more adaptable down here. And what I love is every time I found a great green that would look great here, it seemed to be complemented with black and white, which made it very fresh and crisp. Or you may have been a burgundy fan, and burgundy can be translated to a bright red or a hot pink, which would also still stay in your color preferences. Coral. I love this shade of coral because I find it looks extremely sophisticated as to what we're usually used to, either using it as a complete wall or as a backdrop to your shelving. I really want to talk to you about this piece of art on the left-hand side. That is actually a Hermes silk scarf that has been framed. So if you have any of those, like a vintage Hermes scarf from an old aunt, frame it. It looks absolutely beautiful. The colors never fade, and they're incredibly rich and intense. Palms and animal prints. Many of you love animal prints, and those that do are very, very loyal to their animal prints. There's no need to overdo it, and I think also with the palms on the right-hand side there, by putting them on a pillow, again, you see matching with the black and white, which makes it very fresh and contemporary, a dark headboard, which you might have brought down from up north. It all balances out very nicely. And I want to talk to you about upholstery. Now here's a great tip, and if it's the only one that you take leaving today, do not upholster before you move down here. Because, and unfortunately he's not here today, but one of the designers told me a story that happened to him when he moved down here from Ohio 14 years ago. He was able to acquire a good amount of zebra striped fabric, and so he reupholstered everything he had. And then he moved down here. And 3 weeks later, he couldn't stand it. and he changed it all. Because your fabrics will change. Again, with the colors will change once you get here. However, if you have great furniture with good bones, you know that you can reupholster it many, many times throughout its lifetime and yours. So by all means, wait till you get here. There's all kinds of, a wonderful wingback chair can be done in a great modern way. You don't have to go as colorful as I'm showing you here, but it's just to give you that complement and that impact. Slip covers, something that we see a lot here, and as designers we find it's very split in the middle. Women love it, men hate it. They hate it because it seems too casual, wrinkly, not finished. However, as a designer, I absolutely love the look. I find it gives it a sophisticated coastal feel. So, and it's very, very practical. And everyone has a Parson chair sitting somewhere, and it's a great way to dress it up and change it throughout, without having to go through that whole expense of upholstery. So here I just wanted to show you a very contemporary dining room set. That's a very transitional look. It could have been up north. It most probably is down here, and it's probably a southern look. But if you had there again, probably reupholstered the chairs, and it's very, very beautiful. I really do like that look. However, you might want to turn up the color down here. You see, look at the dining room set. It's a very, very traditional one. However, they've put red vinyl on the seating, and most probably the his and hers chairs are red velvet. So it's something, and of course I love the wallpaper, but you don't have to go that far. You can sort of find somewhere in the middle. Now, windows. Up north, our rooms are most probably heavier. The windows are heavier. Our crown molding is more ornate. Down here, things are a little bit lighter, and we have these open spaces. I personally am a great fan of plantation shutters. You like them or you don't. I think they're very energy efficient, they're very clean looking, and you have a great control of privacy. Now, there seems to be a movement, and I like it, towards less fussy window treatments. And people think, well, the panels are kind of boring. It doesn't have to be that way, because really, luxury is in the details. You can have fantastic raw silk panels, or beautiful linen panels. Velvet even would work. I love velvet. But the luxury is in the details, and trim is there's so many choices of beautiful trim. So you can really up it and without having to, miss that more drapé look. If you're just trying to get into color or just trying to think, well, what color should I bring into my interior here? Start with perhaps pots or, don't go, or pillows. But I'm a big fan of turquoise, as you can see. I was thrilled, and one thing I think Vivian forgot to tell you is that this vignette here that you see is the same collection that is on the picture of the flyer. If you did receive the flyer or saw it on email, it is the same. It came in 2 days after the flyer was printed. So we were thrilled to be able to show that to you. Blue. Blue and white is a favorite combination of mine, and I don't know if any of you attended my blue and white seminar that I gave with another colleague of mine, Ruth Condit, but I particularly like the picture on the left because it shows you down here that you can mix styles. You see the bamboo coffee table, the Louis XV chair, the French sofa, the sisal rug, and then you've got your Chinese blue and white ginger jars in the back, and it all works beautifully. If you don't want to have such a big giant splash of color, even just collecting books that are the same color in your bookshelving makes an impact. A subtle one, but still an impact. Now, I mentioned wallpaper before, and anybody who knows me or who has worked with me before knows that I am a great fan of wallpaper. I do use it. I tend to influence all my clients to use wallpaper, and I actually have one sitting here today who I'm working with, and he doesn't know it yet, but you're getting wallpaper, Tom. And down here, the one on the right with the fish, I actually have clients that have a condo close to the beach that put that in their entrance, and it looks absolutely fabulous. Or you can, if you just want to surround yourself with color and more of a traditional motif, the de Gournay on the left is a beautiful choice as well. So don't be afraid of whimsical fish. So I'm sure you have one of these up north or had one of these up north. Actually, I have clients right now that are preparing to move down from New Jersey to Florida permanently. And they have quite a few pieces, dark English furniture. And she's very concerned on how that is going to work down here. And he's adamant that it's coming, so we have to find a way. Now, she sent me the picture on the right, which is, it's not exactly the same piece of furniture, but very similar. Look at the difference in how you can change something and brighten it up and modernize it and bring it down here. And here's a few other ideas. There's more and more furniture that you can choose a paint color. It's often either Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams. The two, on the bottom, the two coffee tables in wicker are, Vivian, are those the wicker tables? Are those a hickory chair? Hickory chair up in Henredon right now. Those come, I've showed you in white and dark brown, but those come in any Sherwin-Williams color that you choose. So it's very interesting how we're incorporating more and more color into our furniture. The piece of furniture on the top, I picked it out of, it was on Pinterest, and if you look on the left, the difference between the left and the right, they took the middle cabinet door out of the top. They, of course, painted the whole thing. They put wallpaper in the back, and they changed the hardware. And it's beautiful. It's a great job. I do suggest, or I should say, I highly recommend having a professional do this. Do not think this is something you can do on a Sunday afternoon, because obviously furniture is a good piece to have, and you don't want to ruin it by just painting it yourself. This slide I wanted to show you because you might have a dark headboard. You might like black. What I like is, this is definitely down here, and the wallpaper on the left is a warm paprika color. It's grass cloth, a great contrast with the dark headboard, but to brighten it up and freshen it, they lightened up the bed linens, which I think is beautiful. And black is a great color. I like the black cornice boards on the right, and with the wicker shades, it's modern. Here's another thing. When you come down, move down here, and you have artwork, and you've had it hanging up north for a long time, the frames might look a little dated when you get it here. It might look heavy and dark. I recently had a client who was cleaning out their mother's estate and called me from New York and said, we have this contemporary painting from my mother. It's worth something, but it looks terrible. I said, well, send it down here and we'll see what we can do. Well, it came down with that brass 80s frame and it looked horrible. We put a simple pewter frame on it and it just breathed new life into it. It's fabulous. And now it's proudly hanging in her living room here in Naples. Another thing, lampshades. If you have great lamps, definitely hold on to them, but sometimes it's just changing the shape of the lampshade that can change a complete look of a lamp. And it doesn't have to be the color that you necessarily change, but just the shape. That's a bell shape. We're definitely more into drum shapes now. I love the picture on the right of the bamboo frame, a headboard. I thought maybe if you have Tommy Bahama furniture, I mean, certainly don't throw it out, but mixing it with warmer colors, as you can see that warm tan on the grass cloth wallpaper, again, wallpaper, and different bedding can also be a more inexpensive way of breathing new life into a room. The infamous alcoves in the homes in Florida. I've never quite understood those alcoves with those very, very thin, narrow ledges that you can't put anything on. So there's different things you can do. You can, if you want to, you can tile it, you can add a ledge to it so you can actually put something on it, you can create a small desk area, or I have clients where I told them to just drywall it closed. They had a grandfather clock. They didn't know where to put it, and they wanted to put it in the entrance. And I'm like, let's get rid of it. And it worked. This is one of my favorite kitchens, so I put it in there. A lot of us have these galley kitchens in our condos here. There is no reason to make a galley kitchen boring. I love the fact that they actually tiled the back wall in this fantastic turquoise. You see there's obviously a theme of turquoise coming back here, and high gloss the ceiling. What a great idea. Think about it. Even if you're not doing a feature wall, you can always high gloss the ceiling. It will give it height and create additional light. And another thing, I'm not a big breakfast counter bar stool kind of girl, but I like the fact that probably never more than 2 people sit at these things, and to create a space inside the kitchen, provided that you have something to look out at, I thought that was a great idea. Well, that actually concludes the presentation today. Thank you.